Okay, picking up on this idea of mode, I'm fascinated by this both as a literary critic and as a writer myself. Talk more about the mode that you, when you do write, because you say that within the mode, experience, language, dream become materials that you can use. But how do we define the mode exactly? You say it's like a frame. What else can you say about the mode to try to give it?
Well, there's lots of different modalities. If I just page through, starting with the Dolch stanzas, the mode there was, I was using a restricted vocabulary of 200 words, basic sight words that I came across when I was a teacher's aide in an elementary school. And the mode here was only to use those words, although I did cheat, which I think is important.
Always cheat.
Yes. And then also the form of the work was the three-line stanza, or tercet, and that was something that I was familiar with from William Carlos Williams. Mayakovsky, very dynamic form.
Dynamic because it's not like the quatrain.
Because it's not a quatrain or a couplet. Those forms tend to resolve, whereas a tercet,
it's a three-part.
A tercet tends not to resolve, and so your attention is propelled forward. So you develop more momentum that way. So that's the mode of that one, and then to give another example, there's work in here called Speaking Peoples that consists of rather longer stanzas, and the words are truncated syntactically and semantically, both at the beginning and end of each line, as if there were more both before and after each line. And the result is it's extremely fragmented. Maybe I should read a portion of this to give you an idea.
Please do.
Shake well. Your memory is nothing but a don't want to stand in the way of identifying with yourself so fully as to number, size, color, and agreement operation on the third floor. Somebody's got light on down on the dock. Bump smack into relation determined by money heading down the tracks. The colors afraid to let go of the rope, meaning you live around here? Stopping is a new line on carrying minus the invoice. Collect on all you'll ever hear later. You'll know me by hope. Calendar pages away, the day will hit the water a different way. Lines arriving at fire pricing, supernumerary as a mob scene or spectacle, dictionary pratfall, Irma in a rush. Then I saw, moving across the surface, by minute intervals, the young needs a tape to measure the door to the wall, lines discovered by blind bugs and Baroque lighting fixtures, sound the key to erasing 10 reams. So actually, some of those actually jammed pretty well from line to line, but a lot of them don't. And the mode here was to, I think, I had done a lot of work with cut-ups, using language, cutting it into lines, arranging the lines, and so on, using, found materials. And I think the mode here was to sort of internalize that process and to sort of tap into a language stream, an internal language stream, and to make breaks in it, as if there were a continuum that you were sampling. I wanted to organically or naturally produce something that would have the effect of having been cut, although it hadn't, in fact, except in terms of the relationship between my conscious process and sort of language as it was occurring to me.
Now, you said you'd studied some philosophy, at least as an undergraduate. Is that something that, in philosophy of mind, or just simply in a more generic sense of the way the mind operates, that may be native to the way the brain works? Or is this something that is completely made up and perhaps learned from the experience of doing the cut-ups and being immersed in abstract art? Is it related somehow to stream of consciousness, or is it in following that line of thinking, or something again that you constructed maybe after the fact?
I think it was more the latter. That it was more of a construction. I think I was interested in effects that could be achieved. But I don't want to exaggerate the extent to which I knew what I was doing. I haven't been reading, from this one because I think it's very difficult. It's difficult to get because it's so fragmented. But at the time, I was very attracted to that idea of a fragmented text. In terms of philosophy, I'd read a lot of existential philosophy, but I kind of exited from philosophy through my reading of Wittgenstein. Mm-hmm. And, one of the things that Wittgenstein is famous for saying is that, in the end of the Tractatus, in his early work, is that which we cannot, that's that which cannot be stated, we must pass over in silence. That is, that he tried to show how philosophical problems were the result of misconceptions about language, mm-hmm. And he was concerned about the limits of language, mm-hmm. the limits of the ability of language to describe or explain or account for the world. And I think that this particular piece, and maybe a lot of my work, does have a philosophical dimension in that it is experimenting with testing limits of language. So, let's see, maybe there's a passage here that would be germane to that. Yeah, here it is. Well, maybe I could just read a part of this. This is from a poem called Day Parts, and it's part 20. There are 24 parts. The vocabulary of advertising, played in silence against the chord of news, provides a gentle background humor for the breaking into parts of a personal day's work, miles from the time being. The integral students find a place in the scheme of things by cleaving to the absolute, the way a baseball cleaves to air, brightly and with the fist in it. These rhetorical templates, left us by the ancients, have been spruced up by the boys on Madison Avenue, now exploded worldwide, so there is really very little we can't say, or so it seems. I keep trying to pry the letters off the wall. It does exist. There are boundaries even words can't leap across. And then I'm going to skip to part